All right, guys. Tonight on Hypothetically Speaking, episode 6. These two dads are going to talk about some conspiracies and the psychology behind them. We're going to figure some shit out tonight. We are drinking all day, and we are just going to do a bonus episode here.
Listen, honestly, there's a lot of shit that we know, but there's a lot of shit that we do not know. And, because of the fact that we're a couple of drinks deep, things are going to get really interesting today, or at this point of the evening. But all to say that everything that we talk about is opinion-based facts, which means that we may be correct, we may not be correct, and if we aren't, then please leave a comment and let us know where we fall short or where you can provide a bit of context, and we may cover some of the topics that you talk about, or maybe we don't because we don't give a shit. So there's that. But all to say that I think that where we left off from the previous episode to where we are today is dreams. What do they mean? And how can we interpret what we think about at night? Or maybe it isn't what we think about or something that we experience, but how can we relate that to present events or previous events that then can be categorized as dream events? I don't know if that makes sense. Again, this is about, I don't know, we're about 12 drinks in at this point.
Several drinks in, guys.
We drank a lot of tequila. Now we're about 3/4 of the bottle in of one of our favorite whiskeys or bourbons.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about dreams after we've been drinking. So,
okay.
We're not going to tell you how to interpret dreams, what the meaning behind dreams are, but we can talk about some of the fucked up dreams that we've had. I know Dre has had some fucked up dreams related to his time he spent in the Middle East,
in the combat zones.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know you've had some dreams that have derived directly from some of the shit you saw over there.
And before you carry forward, it's kind of crazy where it's so in thinking about dreams and some of the things that I've unfortunately had to reminisce on is, and this is more, it's not a therapy session for veterans. It's not meant to be a way for you to cope with the things that are wrong with you or may not be wrong with you. But in my particular case, there's a lot that I went through in my time in the military that, is things that I can't really forget. And a lot of victims of PTSD or post-traumatic stress industry or post-traumatic stress, I guess, is a new PTSD disorder. My bad. Go through nowadays is, you got to find ways to cope with the trauma that you've been through. And some instances, it's very difficult. And I sympathize with a lot of veterans that have to go through some of the drama that I had to go through the Veterans Affairs. And I don't want to say that they're the enemy, but it's very difficult for someone from the outside to actually determine what it is that you actually went through to determine what your percentage of disability would be in the VA rating scale. And, I'm sorry that you all had to go through that, or some of you that have been in the service had to go through that type of process, but it's all in the sense of, we all go through our own trauma, and I think that it's important for you to express your trauma if it's beneficial for you to go through some psychological assessments and therapy to make things better. Okay.
But along those lines, I mean, there's a lot of people who go through traumatic experiences throughout their life outside of combat who have PTSD.
Like you.
Sure. I mean, I do have some PTSD from my childhood. I don't know if that directly impacts the dreams that I have.
But okay. So you and I, we're really good friends, extremely good friends. Have you ever been in a situation where your trauma from childhood has affected your present day today?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. On a daily basis.
Like what?
Just in general, there's times where raising my son, there's decisions that need to be made in the moment where, based upon the impact that the trauma of me growing up has an impact on me making that decision for my son.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that in general, if you look at PTSD from soldiers versus somebody who had an abusive childhood, there's things that happen in your life that could trigger a reaction based upon those things. So within your dreams, when you're dreaming about whatever, whether it's some normal, ordinary situation, and then things get crazy in your dreams. Is it because of your PTSD that you take a sharp left turn in your dreams from having an everyday you're shopping at the mall where all of a sudden it takes this huge left turn and all of a sudden you have to kill people at the mall?
Yeah.
You know? Is it the PTSD that causes that? Is it something that is you're doing kind of a projection of yourself into your dreams to help you decide which direction you need to go?
Well, you bring up a good point because in my experience and having to deal with the interview and interrogation of individuals that were associated with alleged activity that was related to terrorism. It's very difficult for you to not have a jaded approach to how you talk to specific individuals, and it's one of those things where I feel like I love the military for the fact that they gave me my wife. I met my wife in the military, and I appreciate that. But in the same token, like I deployed over a dozen times, and throughout all of that time that I spent overseas, I've seen nothing but evil, and it's jaded my opinion on how I believe or not believe in religion, because everyone's interpretation of religion is very different, and I feel like religion is taken with a grain of salt because throughout the interpretations of religion, and also like the experiences of each and every individual that's out there that has taken a step back or even a step forward in what they believe in, it's very difficult to find a middle ground in religion where everyone's just like like there's a crossroads, like Bone Thugs and Harmony,
Crossroads.
Find me at the crossroads.
But that's the thing, though, with religion. It's Christianity, Catholicism,
yeah,
Judaism. There's no crossroads.
there is.
There's no middle ground where one is willing to concede to the other to say, you know what, some of the ideas you have are are correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand where you're coming from. It's either right or wrong. And unfortunately, with what you had to experience in combat was the extreme side of one particular religion. And it's not necessarily the case for every single person
Mm-hmm.
who believes in that religion, but you had the extremist side of that religion. And it happens to be the one religion where if you're extremist to the one point, bad shit tends to happen.
Okay.
Other religions, the extremist side is they're kind of an asshole. Like the extremists of Christianity, they're judgmental, they're annoying, they're kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
But they're not fucking blowing shit up.
Yeah.
You know, and when you get into the extremist side of Muslim, they blow shit up. They're beyond being an asshole.
Well, okay, all right. So let's think about that though, because I've had a lot of conversations where I used to be an interrogator, and within my time as an interrogator, I've actually had conversations with enemy combatants that have said, listen, like, I am from Pakistan, and yeah, you captured me in Afghanistan, but in my time in Pakistan at a madrasa, I learned that, the Americans were the invaders, and there was really bad things that could potentially happen if I don't actually act and become a agent of Allah, and like all of my actions were justified because of my religion. So, like, does that make them a bad person?
But every extremist, that's the thing, though, is you believe what you're doing is correct.
Sure.
Is the right way. That's been every extremist throughout history.
But does that make them a bad person?
It depends upon your perspective and view of them.
Okay.
Your neighbor who's a super fucking Christian and will tell you every day that the way you live your life is incorrect because you're not following their path. Does that make them wrong or a bad person? It makes them annoying, but it doesn't necessarily make them wrong.
Sure.
So when you get into somebody who believes that being a Muslim and following that path is killing the infidel,
yeah,
does it make them wrong? In my perspective, absolutely. Because religion wouldn't lead you down a path to be an evil person. But in your eyes, as a Muslim who is an extremist that has to take care of the infidels, in your eyes, you're not an evil person. To your fellow Muslims, you may not be. But to other Muslims, you might be a bad person because you are taking the word of Allah and you're taking it to a direction that they don't believe their Bible would take them to.
Yeah.
To, the Quran would take them to. So it's a matter of perspective on all accounts, because there's other Christians who would believe your annoying neighbor is right, where you're like, God damn, this bitch is annoying. But to them, they're like, no, she's right. Same thing with Muslim. There's people who believe that people who are extremists, hey, they're 100% correct. Yeah. It's all a matter of perspective. My perspective, bad people. Because you're killing innocent people. You're not just going after people who are evil. You're just killing whoever gets in your way to deliver your message.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, no, I agree, and to an extent, because I think that if you're in a situation where, your integrity is at, is under question, or even like your patriotism is under question, then you're going to side with what you side, and you're going to protect it at all costs. And it's the same thing with anything that has to do with like extraterrestrial activity, or even foreign activity that is not that is a bit of an unusual but patriotic in nature. Like there is a element of that would essentially be able to determine, what is justified in terms of actions against a particular government that is not your own, and then also what is determined as patriotism to, in terms of actions that is related to the country that you are supporting.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Just what we went through with our election,
Mm-hmm.
leading up to the election. Whether you supported the Democrats or Republicans, that was your belief. You were going to choose one side or another, but there was people who did not believe what you believed. So you were 100% wrong no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
You could have supported Trump or Kamala how for whatever reason, and other people would have told you you were wrong because of what they believed, whether they had fact or anything on their side. It was
Yeah.
based upon belief versus fact.
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot in religion. It's based upon belief, where you're wrong because you believe this. I believe this. This is the way it was written. You're wrong. I'm going to do what I have to do because this is how it's interpreted on my end.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how we went down that path, but we can turn this into a little more craziness. One thing that I wanted to talk about, and we'll get away from the religion and craziness of religion and politics, is 20 like something like 23andMe or Ancestry.com and the DNA testing.
Dude, like I've worked in data analytics for a long time, and I love data and being able to essentially determine, who the individual is that we're targeting, and like all the different aspects of that particular individual. And in my consulting experience, I've been able to determine, okay, all right, like if you were able to, if you were to, from a marketing perspective, wanted to essentially learn who your customer was, you can use um, aggregated information or specific telemetry based off of the individual actions. So everything that you do on the internet is recorded. And I tell my kids this all the time, where it's just like, if you were to use the internet and anything that it is that you put on the internet is indelible, you can't erase it. That's how you should look at the internet, based off of you sitting there and like sending, explicit images to your partner. It doesn't matter. Like anything that you send out,
Dude, if you think about it, it's your technological DNA.
fingerprint or DNA. Yes,
No.
I agree. So if you, and this is where I think that from a children perspective, it's very important that you teach your children that anything that you put online cannot be deleted.
Yeah, it's there.
And I'll give you an example. Okay, so the other day I got into a car crash with my Tesla Model 3, and my Tesla Model 3 has 4 cameras in the Tesla. And every Tesla has, like Model Y, Model S, whatever. It has a front camera. It has 2 cameras on the rear view mirrors or whatever, or the side mirrors. And then it has a camera in the back end, in the trunk, or the trunk or whatever, and or like bumper or whatever. So I was able to actually recover the video from both the trunk and the side view mirror, that was able to record the entire incident that I went through the other day, to be able to establish fault for the particular accident or whatever. So it wasn't me because I was rear-ended and my car is all messed up or whatever. But all to say that the digital era that we live in today is very different than what we lived in previously. And being able to record every single element of every single day is going to be imperative to the future of what we live in today and what we live in the future, where, you know, things are becoming more autonomous in nature. Would you agree with that?
I would, and that's where I talk about your technological DNA. You're putting out your fingerprint, your DNA into the universe for everybody to come in contact with, and it records all of that DNA. So that's where 23andMe, Ancestry.com takes your physical DNA, but you also have that technological DNA. So if there's someone out there...
But well, let me ask you this. Like, you said technological DNA and physical DNA, like, isn't it one and the same? And the only thing that I say that, the only reason why I say that is because from someone that has been in the military, so there's two people here. There's one individual that hasn't been in the military, and then one that has been through the fucking rigor of the military, from like initial entry to special operations. My DNA is out there. So there's no secret. My DNA is property of the U.S. government. Probably yours too.
Oh, I'm sure mine is.
Oh, for sure.
I've given blood. I've done all this shit. My DNA is out there.
But have you done 23andMe?
I have not.
You've not.
So
okay.
here's my thinking on that. This is where your physical DNA differentiates from your technological DNA. So your technological DNA is out there. Okay. Every time you use your cell phone, your laptop, your iPad, whatever, you're sending out all these fingerprints out there for companies to gather your data, to know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to use, what you want to see, all these fantastic things. Mm-hmm. So that Siri and Alexa, they know what to show you next time you fire up your Amazon or any television you have. Your physical DNA. This is where I think it gets tricky. So your physical DNA will determine if you have any physical ailments, if you have any physical strengths in terms of kidney disease, if your bone marrow is great for donating to particular individuals who might suffer from cancer, things of that nature.
But see, that's the thing, is it's like AI is acting like a probability algorithm, basically.
Correct.
It's
but
just
AI can't physically know your DNA, that your bone marrow or your DNA is prime to fight a particular type of disease.
Okay.
However, when you send your DNA into 23andMe, Ancestry.com, one of those, what if you're sending in DNA and some billionaire is looking for a particular marker in your DNA that they could use in order to cure something that is potential for them?
But here's the problem: is like, isn't it true that 23andMe went bankrupt?
I don't think it was 23andMe. There was one of them. Whatever one that chick ran. I cannot remember her name, but...
No.
Was it
23? It was after her.
I don't know if it was 23andMe.
Well,
it was somebody. One of them went under. But what's to stop a billionaire from pulling your DNA, saying, all right, I suffer from this particular disease. I need a transplant from a particular individual. And now you've given your DNA to Ancestry.com, and it shows up in there, and Bill Gates per se is like, I need that particular DNA. That person has the bone marrow I need to fight this particular disease. That's just me getting crazy.
Yeah.
Are they doing that? I don't fucking know. We're getting into like crazy sci-fi shit if you think that. But it's, in my mind, 100% a possibility that billionaires are using the DNA samplings that are sent in to look for cures for shit that could ail them so that they could live longer. And who wouldn't if you have $50 billion in the bank and you have the potential to dying at 70? Why would you not want something that could make you live to 100?
So what's interesting about 23andMe is that it is actually facing bankruptcy. It is today. And there's a lot of financial troubles, which is interesting because, like, for a company that has so much data on each and every American citizen, or even
how many Americans do they have data on?
So many, bro.
Millions.
Like, tons, yeah.
Tens, 20, 30 million people?
But here's the crazy thing is that 23andMe has never made a profit.
Yeah.
Ever
Which
made a profit.
How is that fucking possible?
And its stock has lost 98% of its value.
Yeah. Which is crazy. So if you look at sci-fi, let's take reality out of it and you just look at sci-fi. There's been several movies made, several TV series that have been made based upon shit like this. What if they can use your DNA to fix something in a billionaire's DNA, and they can clone themselves using your DNA to fix whatever's wrong with them?
But this is one of those things where it's just like, okay, if you take the DNA of a particular individual, you look at their chromosomes and everything in terms of their genetic makeup and stuff, and like even my kids, like there is a plausibility of being able to alter my genetic makeup to ensure that I am associated with the right DNA that to carry on the torch for the future of the human race. And it's one of those particular instances where DNA becomes a vital piece of the information puzzle to ensure that the human race continues on. And yeah, man, like it's just one of those.
But let's think. Let's say you're Bill Gates, and I'm not saying Bill Gates is doing this, but let's say you're Bill Gates,
mm-hmm.
and you have something with your kidneys that says your kidneys are going to cause you to die at 73 years old.
Sure.
But you could look at DNA. And they find that you have the DNA for kidneys that he could use in order to live another 30 years.
Listen, like...
What's to stop that person from searching you out? You have a car accident. Somebody rear-ends your Tesla. And now you're in the hospital. Kidneys disappear.
Fuck Bill Gates. Listen, like, I like you more than Bill Gates, so there's that. And all to say that I think, I'm fucking Costa Rican, so there's that. And I think that my grandparents and my great-grandparents or whatever, like, all of them, previous to all of, like, the advances in medical shit, whatever, that we go through today, have all survived over 90 years of age. That leads me to believe that it's two things. It's what it is that you do from in terms of activity. Mm-hmm. So there's that, and there's also whatever it is that you consume.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it is.
And
you
Bill Gates is going to want your fucking
yeah,
bone marrow.
Yep.
Or your kidneys or your liver in order to live to 95. That's just me talking crazy, trying to play
or increase your chances.
The silly side of this.
Sure.
But why else is 23andMe, Ancestry.com? Dude, they're pulling your DNA and telling you you're 15% Viking.
Mm-hmm.
How the fuck would you know somebody's part Viking?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't. No. You could tell me I'm fucking 10% fucking Croatian.
Are you?
Quite sure how you can fucking tell me that. I'm not Croatian.
What the fuck are you?
I'm fucking Irish, Dutch, and German, and English.
Russian.
I don't think I'm Russian.
No? Okay.
Yeah, I don't feel commie at
Soviet.
all. I don't feel commie at all. I've never questioned capitalism. I like making money.
Okay, all right. Fair enough.
I've never wanted to share the money that I make with everybody else.
No.
Never wanted a bread line.
Okay. I
never looked at the supreme leader in North Korea and thought, that guy's cool.
Yeah.
Definitely not communist.
Okay.
So I don't think there's any Russian in me. So that's my thoughts on everything we went through here on this episode.
Okay.
PTSD, trauma, it sucks. I think we all get PTSD from different things in life. It's how we deal with it. I think that differentiates us. Where some of us have PTSD from deployment and war. Others have PTSD from childhood traumas or rape and shit as you get older.
Yeah.
It's what do we do with it afterwards? How do we deal with it? How do we compartmentalize that as we get older? And what do we do with it in order to allow us to move forward? And then there's 23andMe and fucking Ancestry.com. Are we giving our DNA to people, to billionaires who are looking for an out in life and an extension on life? Who knows? I don't know what the fuck I believe on that. But I think we're far enough into this episode with enough alcohol and enough jibber jabber on some serious and nonsensical fucking things that the opinion-based facts rings true on this episode. So be sure to tune in for the next episode where we'll discuss some craziness again. Be sure to tune in, guys. Leave us some comments as this one got crazy.